The most dangerous seat in the Roman Empire wasn't the emperor's throne. It was a warm stone bench with a hole in it, the public toilet. 2,000 years ago, you would have queued for it, sat down next to 20 total strangers, and reached for the one object historians still shudder at. No stalls, no doors, no paper. Flames could, occasionally, come out of the hole. By the end of this video, you'll know why Rome's toilets were the most advanced thing on Earth, and the most terrifying. 5 seconds. Subscribe, like, share with one curious friend. Done? Legend. Back to the story. So it's the year 100 AD, you're in Rome, and nature calls. You follow the signs to one of the city's public latrines. Rome has about 144 of them. You duck through the doorway, and there it is. One long stone bench, a neat row of keyhole-shaped openings, and this is the part your modern brain cannot process. 19 other people, sitting, chatting, mid-business. Because in Rome, this is a social occasion. Down the bench, 2 merchants are closing a grain deal. Someone is complaining about his landlord. A slave is catching up on the day's gossip. Privacy hasn't been invented yet, and honestly, nobody here seems to miss it. Historians describe these rooms as half bathroom, half break room. You came for the obvious reason. You stayed for the networking. Look down. The bench is stone, pleasantly cool in summer, absolutely vicious in January, and beneath it, a channel of running water carries everything away before it can pile up. Clever. But there's a second channel, a little one, right at your feet, flowing gently past everyone's sandals. You are going to want to know what that little stream is for, because here comes the object of the hour. Toilet paper will not exist in Europe for well over 1,000 years. Instead, you reach for the tersorium, a sea sponge tied to the end of a stick. It's soft, it's reusable, it is genuinely quite effective. There's just one small detail, one tiny civilization-defining detail. It is not your sponge on a stick, it is the sponge on a stick, shared by everyone on the bench, by everyone who came before you today. And that little stream at your feet? That's the rinse. Sponge in, swish swish, sponge out, pass it along. Sometimes with a dunk in vinegar or salt water when standards were high. Scholars still argue over exactly how every latrine used them. The sponge itself, not up for debate. It was real and it was communal. Now, here's the thing, and it's the first big idea of this video. Romans were not dirty people. By ancient standards, they were obsessed with cleanliness, baths, fountains, gleaming togas. The shared sponge wasn't Rome failing our standards. It was Rome absolutely nailing their standards. Nobody on that bench knew germs existed. Remember that. It's going to matter horribly later. So where does it all go? Follow the flush. Because under your sandals, under the bench, under the whole roaring city, runs something genuinely astonishing. The reason 1 million people can live in one place without drowning in themselves. The Cloaca Maxima, the Great Drain. Romans started digging it around the 6th century BC, before the Colosseum, before the emperors, before almost everything, and never stopped upgrading it. The geographer Strabo claimed parts of it were tall enough to drive a wagon load of hay through. It swallowed stormwater, bathwater, latrine water, and carried the lot away to the river Tiber. Parts of it still carry water today, 25 centuries later. And because Rome put a god in charge of everything, the sewer got one too. Cloacina, later upgraded to Venus Cloacina, goddess of the Great Drain, had her own little shrine right in the Forum, one of the fanciest addresses on Earth. Picture it. Senators in gleaming togas pausing between world-shaping debates to pay respects at the sacred shrine of the sewer. Rome, everybody. So obviously, every Roman home was hooked up to this marvel, right? No, almost none were. Given the choice, most Romans said no thank you to a sewer connection, and their reasons were not crazy. Because a pipe that runs from the city's underworld straight into your house is a door, and doors open both ways. Rats came up the pipes, smells came up the pipes, sewer gas could build up in the dark, drift toward a lamp flame, and historians of Roman sanitation describe this, send a sudden jet of fire out of a toilet opening, flames, from the toilet. Imagine explaining that one to the family over dinner. And one ancient writer, Alien, swears its true voice, tells of a seaside house where a giant octopus swam up the drain every night, hauled itself through the toilet, and ate the family's stock of pickled fish, night after night. Is it true? It's an ancient fish story, but every Roman who heard it looked at their drain a little differently that evening. Which brings us to the demons. Romans genuinely believed latrines were haunted, openings in the earth where bad spirits gathered. So they painted the goddess Fortuna on latrine walls for protection and scratched warnings into the plaster to keep things civil. At Pompeii, one wall literally reads, "Pooper, beware the evil." That is a real professionally excavated 2,000-year-old message. Archaeology is magnificent. And sometimes the fear ran deeper than superstition. The philosopher Seneca records a prisoner, condemned to die in the arena, who chose to end his own life with the only object left within reach, the latrine sponge. Even Rome paused at that. A reminder in the middle of all the comedy that this world could be unbelievably hard. Take a breath. We're heading somewhere lighter. Lighter and much, much weirder. Because now we need to talk about Roman pee. Specifically, why the empire treated it like liquid gold and how it ended up in the emperor's tax code. All over the city stand big clay jars, public urinals on street corners, outside the bathhouses, beside the taverns. And every day, workers come to collect them, not to dump them, to deliver them. Somewhere in Rome, a real business is paying real money for your pee. And it's about to make every white toga you've ever seen make sense. Meet the Fullers, Rome's dry cleaners. Their secret ingredient for a dazzling white toga? Stale urine. Left to age, it turns into ammonia, a genuinely effective detergent that strips grease like nothing else in the ancient world. Workers trampled clothes in vats of the stuff all day, barefoot. So every senator gliding through the forum in blinding white? Pee. Every gleaming inch of it. It was such big business that the Emperor Vespasian slapped a tax on it. His son Titus was disgusted. A urine tax, father, really? So Vespasian held a gold coin under his son's nose and asked, "Does it smell?" "Pecunia non olet," he said. Money doesn't stink. 2,000 years later, Europeans still use the phrase, and the French still call a public urinal a Vespasien. The pee-tax emperor literally became the toilet. Oh, and it gets worse. Some people brushed their teeth with it. The poet Catullus absolutely roasts a rival, a man from Spain named Ignatius with a suspiciously bright smile, for whitening his teeth with urine. And the awful part? The chemistry checks out. Ammonia bleaches, so the whitest smile in the room had the darkest secret. Some things about status never change. And look past the gross for 1 second, because here's what nobody tells you. This is a recycling economy. Waste collected citywide, processed into industrial chemicals, taxed by the state. Rome ran a circular economy on body fluids 18 centuries before anyone said the word sustainability. Disgusting? Deeply. Sophisticated? Also deeply. But all of that is street-level Rome. You statistically live upstairs, on the 3rd or 4th floor of an insula, one of Rome's creaking apartment blocks. And upstairs, my friend, there is no plumbing at all. Your bathroom is a pot, a humble clay chamber pot filled by night. And every morning you face the great Roman question, the stairs or the window? The law says the stairs, carry it down, empty it properly. But the window is right there. And Rome's streets tell us, loudly, which option kept winning. The poet Juvenal warns Romans walking at night to make their will before going out to dinner, because from the high windows come falling pots, falling water, falling everything. You should count yourself lucky, he says, if all you get is a soaking. Walking home after dark in Rome was a game of vertical roulette. It got so bad that Roman law built an entire legal action for it. If falling filth hit you, you could sue. And here's the gorgeous detail. You didn't have to prove who poured it. The law let you sue whoever occupied the apartment it fell from. Collective guilt for collective splatter. That statute is still sitting right there in the surviving digest of Roman law. And the pots that did make it downstairs, they went to cesspits, big soak-away holes, often dug cozily near the kitchen garden, emptied by professionals called stercorarii, who carted the contents out of town and sold them to farmers. Your waste fertilized the cabbages that came back to your own table. The circle of Roman life. Now, how do we actually know what went down those drains? Because archaeologists went in after it. Beneath the town of Herculaneum, sealed by Vesuvius, researchers hauled out roughly 750 sacks of 2,000-year-old sewage from one apartment block's drain. And then, heroically, they sifted every single bag. And the sewage told the truth. Fish bones, sea urchin spines, fig seeds, olive pits, eggshell. Ordinary Romans in one ordinary building were eating a rich, varied Mediterranean diet, better than historians expected. Marble monuments show you what Rome wanted you to see. The drain shows you what Rome actually ate. Garbage is history's most honest witness. Running water, great sewers, public baths, waste recycling. Surely all of this engineering made Romans healthier than the muddy villages beyond the frontier, right? In 2016, Cambridge researcher Piers Mitchell gathered the evidence. Ancient latrines, preserved waste, burial soil from across the whole empire. The result? Intestinal parasites did not decline when Roman sanitation arrived. Whipworm, roundworm, just as common as before. By some evidence, in places worse than in the Iron Age villages Rome sneered at. All those aqueducts, and the worms won. How? Every wonder had a dark twin. The shared sponge, a parasite carousel. The fertilizer trade, it sent worm eggs from the city's gut straight back onto the food supply. Even the glorious worm baths could pass things along in shared, gently simmering water. Rome built plumbing perfection on top of one missing fact. Nobody would prove germs existed for another 1700 years, which is the second big idea of this video. Technology without understanding only looks like progress. Rome had the pipes, but not the why. They did everything right by every standard they could possibly see, and the enemy was invisible. Honestly, it's humbling. It makes you wonder what we are confidently doing right now with an invisible flaw in it. And then Rome fell. And here's the part that should genuinely upset you. The knowledge just evaporated. Aqueducts cracked, and nobody repaired them. Sewers clogged, and nobody remembered how they worked. Medieval castles pushed their toilets out over the moat. City streets became the drain. For roughly 13 centuries, Europe forgot what Rome knew about moving water and waste. Civilization doesn't only go forwards. Sometimes it flushes itself. It took until 1858. The summer London's river turned so foul that Parliament soaked its curtains in chemicals just to keep working. The newspapers called it the Great Stink, before engineer Joseph Bazalgette finally built a great city, a true sewer network again. The 1860s, your great-great-great-grandparents' lifetime. So, drift back to that stone bench one last time. You, 20 strangers, one shared sponge. Flames occasionally optional. It's easy to laugh. We've been laughing all video. But you were sitting inside the most advanced sanitation system the human race would manage for the next 1800 years. The joke was also the peak. Rome's real monument was never the Colosseum. It was the idea underneath the city that 1 million people can live together if something carries the filth away. Tonight, you'll press a little silver lever and summon a private miniature cloaca maxima. Technology Rome built, the world forgot, and we only truly got back 150 years ago. The bench is gone. The idea is under your feet right now. And if Roman toilets shocked you, wait till you see what medieval people were eating. Bread so hard it doubled as the plate. Beer for breakfast, for the children. It's all in What Did Medieval Peasants Really Eat? Right there on your screen. Go. Sticky out.